Hello everybody, welcome back to Read and Reread. I am Angelia and today I'm doing a tag called the spoiler book tag. I had to search my own channel to make sure I never did this tag before because it looked familiar, but I think I've just seen a lot of other people do it. So today it's my turn. This was an original tag created by Scott from Gunpowder Fiction and Plot a few years ago, and I was just tagged in the past week by Lekden from Reading from the Depths. So I will include both of their videos in the notes below for you to watch and enjoy. Thank you, Lekden, for tagging me. This is one of those fun, chatty tags where you don't have to gather up a bunch of books or do a bunch of background research, and sometimes that is just the perfect thing. I actually was tagged in a couple of those type of tags this week, and I'm going to save the other one for a different day. So as the title suggests, the topic is spoilers, that phenomenon that occurs when somebody or something, a person, a review, a book jacket, reveals an important plot point that you wish you had not had seen or heard until you were reading the book yourself. So let's get into these prompts that explore the topic of spoilers from many different angles. Number one, what do you consider a spoiler? I think a spoiler is when, well, I kind of just said it, didn't I? But it's when something that you really should not know in advance is revealed. So it can be a little tricky because sometimes we don't all agree on what a spoiler is. I have heard reviews where somebody I've already read the book, and then I see a review and somebody talks about something in the book that I think, oh man, that was a spoiler. They shouldn't have said that. It's definitely up for debate, book by book, what would be a spoiler. But to me, it takes away some of the pleasure of reading the book to know this thing in advance. It's something that it diminishes the impact. If you know it's coming before you read it, then for me, it's a spoiler. Number two. Okay, I've started number two 3 times because I got halfway through and then rethought my answer. So let me try again. Number 2. Does the genre you're reading impact what you consider to be a spoiler? Yes. My new answer is yes. The one you're not going to see is maybe. It does impact it because there are certain kind of books where they're plot-based books, mysteries and thrillers. And those ones, if the spoiler is revealed, I might not even bother to read the book. Books that I'm going to reread, certain books, they may still have suspenseful content, but if it's a fun thriller that I'm probably going to read once, I may not ever read it again. I'm not going to read it at all if I know about these things in advance. So yes, the genre does impact it. All right, number 3. All the best bits are in the trailer. Sometimes a synopsis can be too detailed. Do you research books prior to reading them, or do you prefer to know nothing about the book? Well, I guess I do research to the extent that the book isn't even on my TBR if I haven't heard about it before. So the research, it might not be really specific research. It may just be that I saw some reviews of it on YouTube. I may look it up and look at some published reviews. I frequently check Kirkus. I do put stock in the Kirkus star. I've talked about this before. So if I'm not quite sure about a book, I might look up, or I might kind of pull it up on Goodreads or Storygraph and just get a gist of the range of reviews, but not read them specifically, just to get a better idea. But if I start to see things about twists and surprises, then I stop because I don't want to know more about what those are. So I don't read a whole lot. I just want a little bit about maybe the author and what kind of book it is. I don't want to go in not thinking that it's one kind of book, but then it's really another. That actually ends up happening a lot anyway. But yeah, I don't want to know too much, but I need to know a little bit. Number 4. Sometimes the introduction or translator's notes can spoil the ending, especially for classics. Has this ever happened to you? Oh my gosh, yes. These are the most infamous spoilers, are those introductions to classics. The additions with new introductions, and sometimes it takes up 30 pages at the beginning of the edition. I do not ever read those introductions until the end, after I've read the book. Also, do not read the author's introductions or the author's notes, which a lot of times are at the end of the book anyway, and the translator notes. If it's, I don't care where they put it. If it's at the beginning, put it wherever you want. I'm not going to read it until the end for those very reasons. And yes, it has happened to me. I have a really pet peeve about this with classics, where people just kind of assume that the overall plot of the classic is common knowledge and that you are just reading it for its wonderful literary value and experience. Well, we are reading it for that, but also we're reading it because it's supposed to be a good book and we don't want to know the plot before we've read it if we have never read it. So I don't care if the book is 500 years old. I think we still need to honor the spirit of the pleasure of reading something for the first time and not give away the plot, or at least warn people that you're going to have a spoiler type discussion of the classic. That's fine too. You can do a video or a review where you want to get deeper into the plot and the events and the character development and talk about all the details. That's great. But warn people ahead of time so if they haven't read it, they don't give it away. I use Jane Eyre in my thumbnail because I think this is one of the most infamous spoiled plots. And I've read this book many times. I love this book, but not everybody has read it yet. And why deny them the pleasure of certain shocking surprises that occur in this book? And I think that's spoiler enough, that there are some surprises in the book before they've read it. And I think that there's a famous line near the end of the book, which that's not the spoiler I'm talking about. The one I'm talking about happens way earlier in the book. If you read it, we all know what it is, but not everybody's read the book. So I think I propose that we stop referring to certain events that happen much earlier in the book as if we all know about them, because we don't, and let everybody have the thrill of reading Jane Eyre for the first time. Number 5, name a time that somebody spoiled a novel for you. I can't really think of anything. Oh yes, wait, I can. It happened once from a book flap. And this is the other thing that I think is the worst. I am so careful now of reading the flap because I don't know. Sometimes they're just wildly inaccurate, like whoever wrote it didn't really read the book. And then other times they are way too informative about plot details. The worst one ever was a book that my husband and I both read, and I can't remember the name of it now, but it was a book by Joseph Finder. So if you read a thriller or mystery by Joseph Finder, don't read the flap because I can't remember which book it was. Just avoid them all. He writes mysteries. And there was a book, I'm going to be careful about describing this too in case somebody reads this book, but there was a book where the flap, it kind of describes the setup, and okay, that's fine. I want the general gist of the book, but it mentions a death, and it wrote it up in a way that suggests that that was a key factor to setting off the entire plot, when in fact, this particular character and the events surrounding this character don't even come into the story until halfway through the novel. The whole time you're reading, you're thinking, well, where is this person? They're not even in the story. And then when they finally get into the story, you know that they're a goner as soon as they show up, and you're just waiting for it to happen. So the whole, what Finder intended with the character and the revelations is completely ruined if you have read the flap. Like somebody just totally destroyed a key pivotal turning point of the whole thing. So the moral of the story is beware of the blurbs and the flaps, especially in suspenseful novels, and especially never read any of them on any Joseph Finder book so you can avoid the one that happened to me. All right, number 6, have you ever spoiled a novel for someone else? Well, I hope not intentionally. I try to be careful when I'm talking about a book that I've read. This happens a lot. I will tell Stephen about a book and I will start to tell it, and then he'll cut me off and he'll be like, wait, don't tell me anymore. I think I'm going to read it. Or sometimes he'll say, I don't think I'm ever going to read that. Go ahead. But then I think, well, at that point, you're probably not listening anyway because you've decided you don't want to read it. So why do you want to even hear about it? So either way, it kind of ends the conversation. So I try to be careful, and I edit so much out. You will not believe the amount of stuff that I delete from these videos because when I'm playing it back and editing, I just think, good heavens, woman, you just told half the story, and I just have to cut it all out. So you're welcome. Number 7, if spoilers ruin novels, are there some authors or genres you can't reread? Oh, okay. Whether or not I'm going to reread a book doesn't really hinge on knowing what happened in the plot. For one thing, if it's been long enough since I read it, I don't exactly remember the plot anyway. And as I get older, the time span between when I read it and no longer remember the details gets shorter and shorter. Also, I read a lot more than I used to, so maybe just the sheer volume is affecting that. Let's just go with that. Let's just say it's that, and it's not encroaching age. But yeah, I mean, there's certain books that I enjoy, but I already know I'm not going to read them again because they were kind of a fun read, a thriller, a fast-paced, a brain clearer. If it's not a character-based novel where I really get into the evolution of a person in the story, but then there's also a mystery that I might reread. But if it's just like a closed room mystery, here we all are, somebody's dead, who did it, I'm probably not going to read that again. Here's an example though. Like, I reread all of the Kate Atkinson Jackson Brodie books last year leading up to the new one that came out. But those are mysteries, but they're not just mysteries. There's a lot of interesting characters and their development over a number of years. So it's worth rereading. So yeah, none of my rules are hard and fast. Okay, number 8. When reviewing, are you spoiler free? Does this limit your ability to discuss? For the most part, yes. I talked about that a little bit. I tried to be low spoiler or spoiler free. It does limit my ability to discuss. I'm more about suggesting why I liked a book or didn't like it enough so somebody could tell if they too would want to read it. I talk more about its impact on me, or just things that are not about revealing all the details of the plot. I have never gone into the video avenue of making dedicated videos about certain books that are including spoilers. I do watch videos like that and enjoy it. I just haven't really explored that for myself, of doing more in-depth, spoiler-inclusive discussions of books. I don't know. I mean, I might do that in the future. I haven't tried it. You can let me know in the notes if you think I should do that. I don't know. It's just something I haven't done. I kind of just do a more general, I don't know. The truth is, I make lots of spoiler videos and then I just cut all the spoilers out, and you get the bits and pieces that are left. That's what I've been doing. But I'm always looking for new ideas. Okay, the last one, shout out. To tag 5 channels that you enjoy. Well, since this tag has been around for years and years, I really have no clue who has ever done it in the past. I only know if you've done it really recently, excluding today because I haven't checked videos today. So I'm just gonna name some people, and maybe you've done it before. And also, some of these people are not making a lot of videos right at the moment, but this is a good one to just kind of save for when you kind of feel like doing a video, but you don't want to do a bunch of research and prep. It's just kind of fun and chatty about your opinions. So just kind of a good one to have around. So here's who I'm going to name. Marilyn Maya Mendoza, Kelly at Books I'm Not Reading, The Mild Rumpus, Brian at Bookish, Hannah from Hannah's Books, and Priscilla from The Evening Reader. Do it if you wish. No pressure. Save it for later. And if you were not tagged but it sounds like fun to you, please also consider yourself tagged and go ahead and do it. So have a great day. I'll be back soon. And let me know in the notes any opinions you have about this topic of spoilers. Bye.